Be'ez Hashem Parshas Bahar Tov Pei Daled. The previous year, we were discussing the Hishtadlus when people are looking to help the sick people when it comes to illness. So the Chabad Sababa says that Hishtadlus for the Refuah has the same klolim as Hishtadlus for Parnosa, which means that a person is supposed to remember that the Rebbeinu Shem is running it, and all the results and the outcomes is only from Hashem. And on the other hand, the person is supposed to do what they're supposed to call the doctor or get a second opinion, and as a weiter. So we discussed in length that people have a feeling, people have a very strong feeling that when it comes to helping in a choile, then you're supposed to go wild, do everything that's possible or everything that's impossible. Why? Because what do you mean? So people feel, what do you mean? Because it's a mitzvah, because he's supposed to help. And of course we're supposed to be doing whatever is derech ha'olam. There's no suffix, adarabah. It's a very big mitzvah. And as we discussed, even asking a second opinion and finding out if it's a doctor, that's not a problem at all. But where people go wrong is that people feel that when it comes to ruchnius, when it comes to refuah, let's say, you're allowed to get invested feeling that you can make the outcome happen. That's a mistake, because we don't have any yechoilis. It's not possible for us to be in charge, to be balabos on the outcome. And if a person is honest with themselves, they're going to see that what makes them frustrated is not the actual matziv, it's more that they're trying to be in charge of it and they can't. That's the pintle where the person is supposed to work on. Meaning that it's not about how many hours you put in. How many actions? No, that's beside adarab. A person should do. But they have to be aware. The main thing is to be aware that the teva of a person, nature of a person is that once they get invested into something, they want to feel that what they did worked out. They want to feel that they made it happen. That's a problem. And not only klapi shmaya and hishtadlus, it's a problem, but it's also going to make the person be in a frustrated matziv. Now, we also mentioned, maybe beforehand, let's elaborate on this a bit. But when there's a tragedy, so we know that people get very, very verloren, people get lost with the guilty conscience. I should have been there. Why did I go away? And so on a very, very deep way. And sometimes it's so traumatic that it's very hard to get the person out of it. If a person would observe it, you could see something fascinating. The children that weren't busy with their father, let's say, the children that were just like once a week making a phone call, how's it going? Is there anything I could help? They're hoping that the answer me no. And they're not very involved. They don't have the guilty conscience. The people that mamish 24/7 did whatever they could, and they did much more than they could. They feel that it's their fault. And they can't forgive themselves. They cannot forgive themselves. It's so hard. What's the pshat? If we try to analyze it, the pshat is because they got emotionally connected. So it hurts more. The whole situation hurts much more. People that were always distant, they were already Makal B'Shum 20 years back. The other ones. That's what it would look like. But the emes is that it's very important to stress, when people get invested and they help, there's two separate parts. It's very hard to draw the line because it's a very big avodah. But we still have to learn it, say it, and chap it. That when a person gets invested, what happens is he feels that he's in charge. He feels that he has he calls the shot. He makes the decisions. he's the one that's beyond Roma. He's running the stick, and then there's the other siblings, but he's really running it. So what happens is that the deep pain of feeling that I should have is not from the healthy place of it. It was because I was in charge. So where was I?
The other ones don't feel guilty because you were in charge.
Sure, the other ones don't feel good because you were in charge. That's for sure. Maybe they'll also blame him. That's true. But it's very interesting. Mitzad echad, this child that's always helping you out, and when it's in many times when it's everything not comfortable, be'emes not comfortable, giving everything away is the biggest mitzvah. And the schar for it at this world and the coming world, there's no doubt about it. But with that, there's baggage. We have to just know about it. We have to be aware. Usually, if a person doesn't work very hard on themselves, there's baggage that comes along that slowly you start feeling that you're be'emes in charge and you could make things happen or not. The more a person's going to work on themselves to try, again, the Yitziata D'Shemaya, Messiah Noisai, and the Etzer Mitzvah that they're doing is strong enough to give them Siyata D'Shemaya, but they have to be aware, they have to daven, they should be nitzel, they shouldn't fall into the trap of I can make it happen. And then they don't have to have the tsar and the frustration of the blame. Any tragedy, there's always feelings, it's always hard. But the chelik, that specific part of feeling, I should have, I shouldn't have, that's usually a result from how strong the person was invested in I should have, I shouldn't have beforehand. Because the person feels that with only one little detail I would have done different, I could have saved a life. So a person should just be aware, and person that's very honest with themselves tries to observe what's happening with themselves, their feelings, what triggers them, what makes them do a better job, what makes them be very, very upset at others. And it's super, super important because that's be'etzim the mamash the yisoid of the Chovos HaLevavos. I mean, this topic is not an addition, a hoisofa. This is exactly what the Chovos HaLevavos is trying to say when he's reviewing again and again that on the one hand you should do, on the other hand you shouldn't feel that it's connected to you. So that's why it's so tricky, but we have no way out. That's the avoid of Olam Hazeh. The avoid of Olam Hazeh is not to stay put, and the avoid of Olam Hazeh is not that emotionally you should feel that you're doing it. So you could see it in the Zelba Zachazayu by Refuah, the same way like by Refuah, if something doesn't work out, a person gets so frustrated and upset and feel that he's at fault. We could use that as an example for Parnosa. And when something doesn't work out, the person that felt that he can make it happen, the first oynish that the person gets is the frustration afterwards that I knew I shouldn't have done it. I told him not to do it. There's a special chelik from the frustration, which is why did I do it? Why? But if a person works on themselves, the katchila, that they have reminders all over the place, it's not me, and they daven for it, and they learn Chovos HaLevavos. So what happens is, you don't have to go through that oynish. If there's a loss, so again, a person has to swallow that there's a loss, but then the addition, the whole part of being frustrated, who told me to do it, and I told him not to, and I argued, all of that, the person doesn't have to go through. Totally, there's no, it's not a gzeira from Min HaShamayim that you should have that tsar. That tsar is what the person took upon himself.
A parent for their children shidduchim also can get in.
He's saying a parent for the children in shidduchim. It's so good that you bring this up because it's so important to speak about it because it's be'emes, this is the same yisoid. A person is living in Ne'elam. It means you don't see anything. It's a fog. It's be'emes like that. A person has no idea what you're supposed to do, which is the right one. Should I push? Should I not push? That's the world that the Eibusher put us in, and it's so important that to bring up more and more examples, because every example has one point that you could bring it out better by that example. Like the guilty conscience that we spoke about before, there you could see it, but then you could understand in the work when you have a loss at a business. So selbe Zach, when you talk about Shidduchim, it's mamish the same, but by Shidduchim, a different color is highlighted. L'moshel, the unknown where I'm going, b'chlal. By different areas, people feel that it's come out clear as I have to go this, and I want to do a deal with the other company. They're very strong-minded about what's supposed to happen. And it's not like that, because you don't know, but it looks like it. But by Shidduchim, usually, most people, you don't know. Mamish. So it's easier for a person to have that humbleness, that anova, because they don't know if they're b'chlal walking up the right tree. So, the more a person is going to be cautious, that even when they start having certain feelings towards a shidduch that comes up. Now, usually only later in the game, that's where a person makes the mistake. In the beginning, they're like, I don't know if I'm listening, I don't know if it's for me, it's pashet, I don't know, who knows, it's the Eibishter. But then, when they get a little bit invested, and if they start having strong feelings towards, and then something happens and doesn't work out, I shouldn't have. The more a person is going to hold on tight, that they should remember that they're in the Rebbeinu Shalom's hands, is when they have a achzava, a disappointment. Along when they have a disappointment, the darga of pain by the disappointment is always going to be tolui how strong the person felt that he's in charge. That's what's always going to be. That's like the schar and the oynish is automatically. Now, it's true that there are other factors also involved that could make your pain or frustration be more or less. So me'ever, besides the person feeling that he's making it happen, l'moshel expectations. Expectations not because he felt he's in charge, but he was like hoping. He's wishing, especially when someone's waiting for Yeshua so long. A lot of times there's no koich of otzim yodi b'dafka fakir. They're already a little bit, I know it's not going to happen and whatever. So the expectations could definitely be a big factor, playing with the person's feelings of how devastated they are. And then there is disappointment itself. Like we said earlier, if there's a loss, if it's a tragedy, if it's a loss in money, it's painful. That on its own is painful. But that's what we're trying to bring out, is that around and around, that a person is achroi, that he shouldn't have to have the additional pain. Now the selbe zach is, as we mentioned, I think it was 2 shiurim ago, that refuah could mean refuah, and it could also mean refuah sanefesh. And the person is looking for the right psychologist, looking for the right, even mumche, the right yeshiva for the bocha. It's a lot of emotion, a lot of koiches that go in. But a person always has to be able to be disconnected emotionally. It's not easy, b'chlal. But pshat is, I'm doing the mitzvah now. Let's explain it this way. How could you be disconnected emotionally? It's a fact. I'm looking for Yeshua. The answer is, the less a person feels that they have that their Hishtadlus is actually doing something, the less they're connected emotionally. When the heart starts pounding, oh, okay, so I'm doing it. Once you feel that you have a grip on the outcome, then that already brings frustration with it. A little bit what we're discussing today helps. It's like a shaloyle shmo that could help a person that they shouldn't get emotionally connected. Many people, after they had a lot of disappointments, they're like, watch out not to get emotionally connected, because they don't want to go through that again. By Shidduch is one of the good examples of it. They're like always 2 steps, because they're so scared, they don't want to have that bang. So they're telling that they're reminding themselves in every form of Hishtadlus. The more a person could remind themselves in the later stages of the game that it doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't have anything to do if I'm going to do this or say this. And they push themselves, even if it's Shaloi Lishma, but it's truth. And being that it's emes, it's going to help them go through the process easier, more comfortable, with much, much less pain and frustration. Another nakuda, which was, we mentioned it in the shir, but let's emphasize it's important to chop it very strong. Being that Hishtadlus is something that never brings results. It's always like a shayla mitzvah. Should I do it or not? When there's no Hishtadlus, b'derech hateva, that a person must do, then the potter from Hishtadlus. Once the potter from Hishtadlus, usually emotionally, people make the wrong decision. Right then, they make the wrong decision. It means if there's nothing what to do, so I give up. Now there's no shaykhs. Zero shaykhs. If there's nothing what to do, then I could leave go of that avodah. But it doesn't change the muhus of the person with a iota garnish about their hopes. The Baruch Shem is going to run it. They daven. They believe. They don't know. If the Eibusha didn't promise that, we don't know 100% what's going to be the outcome. We don't know. But the giving up then is a solid mistake a person can make. Because if they give up because there's no Hishtadlus, it means once again they believed in the Hishtadlus. They were believing that this, if I'm going to do it, it's going to happen. If I'm not going to do it, it's not going to happen. That's not true. Now, these stories of interesting things that come up and knock on your door is constant. Every day there's such stories. It's not like it once happened. Constantly there's mices that a Yeshua that has to come knocks on your door and again. A person just told me the other day they were struggling with a mindset bets. They were struggling because they weren't understanding this of Yiddishkeit the way they're supposed to. They were going through a nisayon. They were going through a rough matzav, and they couldn't crawl out of it. Now we're talking a language of Chayvus Avova, because most people would have said the name of the nisayon was that person or whatever. But the emes is that was something that triggered something in the mind, and they were struggling with a mindset that was off. And that's why the external situation that we're going through was making them suffer. Person's davening. So it's just one example, which is so simple. But the person told me what happened was they got a phone call. What happened? There's someone that wants to translate books, and is looking for someone to go through the books, and see if it's appropriate for the other language. It's not only about language, right? It has to be hashkafa. It should stim. The type of people, the culture, and as a weiter. So that person got a knock on the door. Could you please read through the books? I'll pay you just to read the books. And tell me afterwards what you feel about it. What do you feel about the book? You don't have to translate, just look at it. Person started reading the books. Nagata Yeshua. Books on Akorosatoy, books on Amuna, books. Verstehst? The Baruch has enough creative ways that just solve problems. Very simple. Yeah, now you have to translate it, but into actions, not afka to the other language. But they say on Rabbi Avraham Ganachovsky that they came to him about a person that had big shalom bayis problems. Now he had shiurim on shalom bayis, right? In Shabin, he had shiurim on shalom bayis, but he didn't want to tell the singer man that, listen, I think you could use some help. So he sat down with him. He had a meeting with the Ingaman, and he told him, I have these tapes. They recorded my shiurim. I need someone to transcribe them. I think you would be a gewaltige candidate. But if you have any questions, let me sit with you. I want it to be very meduyak. Once the Gemara say the Sefer came out. Okay, but don't look who wrote it. But it passes through Rav Ganachovsky. He's a creative. He had a mind of out of the box mind in Gansen. But the Eibusha does it with us. If we would just look around, the Eibusha constantly plays this game with us. That means that a person has a Yeshua, but they're so focused on trying to get it from one mahalach, and that mahalach doesn't work, so they start giving up, and it was already here, it was coming, turn left. We have to know in any area, refuah gets people very, very uptight, but they don't know what the Yeshua is. People have no idea what is the Yeshua you're looking for. What you're supposed to do, that's b'derech klal. It's not clear exactly, but you're supposed to try to be mevar about a doctor and supposed to follow what the doctor says. But it has nothing to do with how things are going to work out and what the Yeshua is supposed to be. Even in refuah, the Yeshua could be a mindset. We don't know. That's why it's so important that a person should constantly remember. You should remember it again and again and again. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Because the doctor says there's nothing to do right now. So instead of going wild, instead of trying to find out, and then so many people that they do narashkeiten then. Because what do you mean? Because you have to. You don't have to nothing. Stop. You want to bring a Yeshua? Das ja. I understand your desire. But you should turn to the Rebbeinu Shalom instead of trying to do Hishtadlus. Hishtadlus is over. But the Rebbeinu Shalom, it's just starting. It's mamash just starting. And then you have people that they live so beautiful, live much longer, every day in such stories. And we're supposed to chazir it before we get to that stage, and it's supposed to help us in every area in life. Another nakuda. The previous shir we discussed that refuah has to do with tshuva. Because chet, the source of chet is because of avoinus. The source to this, the makor, to this yisoid, the pasuk in Tehillim, evilim b'derech pisham, ma b'neseim yis'anu. It means why, when we speak about the Dalet, the four people that have to thank the Rebbeinu Shalom, Yodel Hashem Chazem, V'oisam Riyadam, that capital. So when we talk about refuah, it starts off because there was Averis, because there was Chet. That's why sickness came onto this world. I saw the Rabbi Shmuel from Nicholasburg. He says, Ikar refuah hu aslicha. He brings the Gemara and Megillah, Yud Zayin Amud Beis, that goes through the Brachas Shemona Esrei. And the Gemara discusses why is the Seder, why is it lined up? First you ask for Seichel for Das, and then you ask for Tshuva. So the Gemara brings out in the Pasuk, Hasaleach l'chol avenechi, aroife l'chol tach loichi. So once again he brings that, Hasaleach l'chol avenechi, aroife. That means it goes, it's mamash connected. At kedikach, that the Gemara asks, how did the Eino Bo and Yeno get in the middle? Really, it's supposed to be slach lanu, refoenu. It's mamash connected like that. And the Gemara discusses it. The Gemara explains why Geula was the seventh bracha. Boom, it went into the middle. So that's why we wanted it there. But really, naturally, if there's tshuva and slicha v'kapara, then you could ask her refuah. Then refuah happens. And being that we know that when a person davens Shemona Esrei, while davens Shemona Esrei, they're bringing down the shefa upon them. And when you say Baruch At Hashem Chanar Ma'abad Esloyach, it's happening right then and there. So because it's happening right then and there, it's Rafeinu Hashem Nerove. Because Slicha brings refuah. Sometimes it could be not pleasant for a person to hear that. They're struggling and they're trying to do everything that's right, and they're working on themselves, and it's from their shul, they're the only one that doesn't talk by davening, and as I all this kind of mahalach of thinking, and now they're struggling with illness, the family, and so what does it mean? So the bottom line is, I'm the bad one, everybody's doing great. It's very, very frustrating to hear such language, but it's a stam mistake. Meaning, some people, because of this, divert, they go away from the truth because it's so painful to feel that that's why, because I'm not good enough, that's why I deserve such suffering. Aber es ist nicht emes. Because hate is something, there's no person that doesn't have Averis. No such a thing. The Posik discusses it in Tzadik Boaz Ishasa Tova Lo Yechta. The Gemara, we know, the obvious, the Torah speaks in length about the Darga of the obvious, what Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't go into Eretz Yisrael, Aaron HaKohen couldn't go into Eretz Yisrael. Each and every one, there's a whole story behind it. Yishai, Binyamin, there's certain 4 people from the beginning that we say that they didn't have any chet, but they weren't our leaders. They weren't.
To go back years in the shir with Yifashvish Maisov in Lavritul Vittel Torah, that if you don't find the Midah Keneged Midah, so it could be part of your Torah.
So here we go. So, but what does it mean? It comes because of chet. Comes because of chet means you should understand the dynamics of it. Meaning, it could be, it's not a chiddush that this person is the best person in their community. And because of that, the Eibishter is giving them opportunity to elevate themselves. Because they're doing so gewaldig, so this is going to bring them, it's going to force them to go even more, and they should have schar this world and the coming world. It could be they're somewhere in the middle of the community, and the Eibishter wants to now bring them to a better place. It doesn't mean anything klappe you towards others. That's Ershtens. It doesn't show, and it's a fact. The biggest tzaddikim went through suffering and pain of refuah, of illness in the previous generations and our generation. Always mamash. The answer is that by every person there's chet. Lefi their madrega, lefi what they're in the middle of working on, there is always chet by the person. The situation of sickness, of illness, this you said that they're going through, has a shaykhis with that part of them. When the Rebbeinu Shem is busy showing to any individual what they should be fixing, it has many cheshbonos, all kinds of cheshbonos. But a person knows what I'm going through right now has to do with that part of myself.
Someone was born with
has to do with a Friedrich Gilgul. Someone that was born in a medical situation has to do with a Friedrich Gilgul. Also has to do, with the staff kid sicher, 100%. But it has to do with chisoron. Chet, that's what I'm trying to. Chet miloshen chisoron. People look at it like I'm bad. It has nothing to do with who you are. Every person has chisoron somewhere. The illness has to do with the chelik chisoron that the person has.
It's different than the chavriyov. The chaverim review. Chazal says you shouldn't be like the chaverim review.
Yeah. So the Gemara says in the end of Azov that you shouldn't, if a person goes to a person that's a choile and he tells him you should just know. It says in the Sforim. So he's over right then and there on the Reisav, as Dvorim. He's shepherding. So the Sforim ask, but 1 second, doesn't it say, Haro Yisurim Boim Olav Yifashpesh B'maisav? What did I do wrong? One of the simple explanations in that Gemara is that you have to say it in the right time and in the right mahalach. Dosa says emes doesn't mean that you should say it. It's 2 separate zachen. You could see when a person sometimes laughs about themselves, but if somebody else tells them about their chisan, it hurts. It hurts much more. So when a person that's from the outside comes and Baruch Hashem, they just shower, they're in a good matzav, just ate a sandwich, and they say you should know if you're ill. I just want to let you know that they're not building, they're doing harm when you're presenting in the wrong way. But truth bleibt der emes, that a person that wants to know, it has to do with the chelik chisoron of the person. Let's go a bit further. this hate that's causing the illness many times, let's say, is chesaron emuna, let's say. Nothing, it could be chesaron emuna. Why am I mentioning it? Because the etzem being makabel, the matzev, the etzem being makabel, the yisoid, that Rebbeinu Shalom, if my head hurts, then it has to do with in the chesaron. I know. If you are aware of that emes, and you mask him to it, you're deep in the middle of doing tshuva. That's it. That on its own. That's why many Ehrlich Yidden gave advice for people that are mutching zach, that their avoid is to be besimcha and to be makabel, because that itself, it's mash on the chazon on the moedige oifen. It goes a little bit weiter. The pshat is azoi. Lama sagen there is something else. Maybe they chapered a ninth grade teacher 11 years ago, and that's why they're going through what they're going through. It could be. Sometimes it's very important to know these kind of things. But even beforehand, they have to make sure that they're being makabel this matziv. Because if they're in the middle of being frustrated and upset, and they're fighting the situation they're in emotionally, and they don't want to be makabel it, then they can't even come to that truth of finding out what I could help. You need a lot of siyata d'shmaya that the Eibusha should help you see what you should fix. Ehrlich Yidden, and even simple Yidden, our madrega, when they go through such a matzav, many times they cry, and they give tzedakah, and they daven their hearts out. Help me fix. I don't know. I'm asking. I'll go all the way. Help me fix. I just spoke to Ingeman. The Ingeman had such a kind of a tzora, and he went to Mekoyim Zekdosh to be mispal, and he met at Mekoyim Zekdosh there a boy that he once had to be mishalech from a yeshiva. He hugged the boy and he begged him. He felt from the Himmel that they want to give me siyata d'shmaya. They're helping me. The Eibishter definitely wants to help a person. If there's anything a person is doing wrong, and the Eibishter wants to send him a message, the first thing the Eibishter wants to do is help the person, hold the person's hand, and guide them and help them towards that zach to fix it. That's it. There's no punishment and upsetness involved. It's punkt verkehrt. But what's needed beforehand is the person should be masking to hold Hashem's hand. That's why it's so overwhelming. It's so scary, and there's so much emotion involved that a person a lot of times loses it, and it puts himself into gute Sachen a lot of times. But the Yeshiva Das is the Jordan da. They say the famous story from the Belzer of Zechron Levrocha, in the middle of running away from the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, he stopped and he said, I can't. And he sat down on a stone for a few minutes or what. And they told him to be kuach nefesh. He said, I have to sit on the stone. And then he went weiter. Now, he never explained then, at the moment, he didn't explain what it was. Later on, he met one of the tzaddikim. Maybe the basis rule, I don't know if it makes sense. But he met one of the tzaddikim and they had a shmooze. And then he said that he was running, but he felt that he was missing Yeshiva Das. And on Yeshiva Das, nothing is with it. You can't even run away. You're not allowed to run away from the Nazi without Yeshiva Das. It means there's avodah, you have to run, you have to know what you're doing. Your mind has to be set straight, and let's do what you need to do. The Ikka problem, this is what needs to be mudgash, emphasized, and it has to be refined, this yisoid again and again. When people find themselves in such a kind of an yisoyin, the problem is the Yeshiva Das that we lose. There are many Sachen in the Hishtadlus that make sense. Many that don't, but a lot of Sachen that do make sense, and it's a huge mitzvah. But what happens is that because the matziv is be'emes not simple, so many times you lose the Yeshiva Das. And the second the person loses the Yeshiva Das, so he's saying even practically people make wrong decisions. Yeah, because you make wrong. Once you make wrong decisions, it's like one zach is schleps the other. Hoshana nefesh mi behola. So what happens is that even when they are doing quote unquote the right Hishtadlus, but they're already doing it without Yishuv Adas, that's not anymore the right Hishtadlus. So it doesn't make a difference that they want to save lives. It doesn't change the Metzias. The person's not here. I don't remember if we said about the English here last week, this example of if you can't have a mincha, maybe it was only about Yiddish here. It was like a marshal. We said about English here. That if a person feels themselves that they can't have a mincha, that's a problem. So a lot of people got upset at that marshal. He's part of a mincha. Why is he davening mincha? He's supposed to be in the hospital taking care of it. Oh, he's supposed to be a mitzvah. So let's explain the musik. First of all, if you're part of a mincha, then taka don't have a mincha. En genami. This is not so that a person's part of a mincha. So don't daven mincha. But if you are davening mincha because you are mechuyev, the question is, if you had behola before the mincha, or you're schwitzing b'dvar mitzvah before the mincha. I'm not saying it's not a madrega, but we first have to draw the line to have a shtickle their hair, what we're trying to do. Then we could b'siyad l'shmai daven, we should be able to come closer to that emes. They're waiting online in the hospital. It's not simple. They're waiting online and it's taken for hours. And a guy cut the line. There's a lot of matzobim happening. The person that got frustrated and started screaming, he has a problem davening mincha. Now, we know when we're in a good matzav sitting on the air conditioner metalis, we know that wasn't right. They get frustrated then, but it's very hard because the emotions are all over the place, and especially the guy who skipped the night beforehand. That's usually the matzav that we're in. So it's so easy to lose it. Oh, but it doesn't mean that it makes sense. Whenever a person is invested in a mitzvah the right way, they're close to the Rebbeinu Shalom. They're very, very close. The davening is fakir. They could concentrate, and the fakir, it could be from the best davenings. Let's say a person is looking for an esrik. It could be he's looking for an esrik. If a person has the right mindset when they're looking for an esrik, I don't know how many people are like that, but if there are such people, they know it's the Rebbeinu Shalom. They daven for it, and they're going around with Yishuv Adas. They should fear them in the richtige place, in the richtige esrik. Then a person has biur v'shmanasa. But when a person is running here and there, huffing and puffing, and I still don't have, and someone else did get something. Sometimes it's fascinating to see when a person wants to have a simon if they're off, is when they see someone else got an esrik and it triggers them. It's fascinating. It's just a mordig simon. I told you, it makes no sense. Screaming, I wanted to go early, I wanted to go later. It doesn't have a pshat. Whenever a person's tari'ah chadvar mitzvah, of course, let's say there's a person knows there's an esrik the other side of the city. I have a question, a Hishtadlus question, okay? There's one esrik in the city, and you heard about it. Now you want to make sure you have the esrik. Are you allowed to run your kishkis out? Are you allowed to pass a red light to get? Are you allowed to speed? At shlish of your life. Shlish is like the red and the yellow and the green. No. The hidden mitzvah at shlish. What's they? The one in Rishonim says it means at shlish means it should be a bigger one. But what's the answer? The answer is no. No, none. None of the above. You know why? Because you're trying to make it happen. If you're trying to make it happen, you're off. You're not with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The real mindset is, let me make it burn for just 1 second. That's the real mindset. I'm in the middle of a suda now. I can't go get the esrik. Give me my hat and jacket. Let me bench. Let me call a car. Let me down to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And it doesn't look which way the car is going, and if he could have made the light, if he couldn't have made the light, he's looking in a sefer, the esek is there, it's not there and fertig. Doesn't mean that he shouldn't call a taxi. He should. But we know that that's where we always make that mistake. And it's all back to the same yesod, because we feel we can make it happen. That's frustration. That makes the blood of a person. If you feel it's happening, so talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Work with it. Talk to the while it's happening. Rebbeinu Shalom, I know Chazeh. Review the same yesod. I know that it's up to you. If it's mine, I'll get it. If it's not, I won't. But help me be mekayim it's esrik.
Bottom line is the first Hishtadlus of the fear is Hishtadlus. Anything. That's basically what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Hard, especially.
He's saying, let's phrase it. Let's be misakem. Bottom line, first Hishtadlus of the fear is Hishtadlus. What do they tell the Hatzalah members? I'm asking you a question. Stay cool. Don't run to the car. It means Chochmas Chaim. It's the same Pikuach Nefesh, and he's the Hatzalah member. And it's the same case, it's the same call, which when they advertise for the campaign, they say the difference between 6 seconds and 12 seconds. They know. Is it because they're neglecting? No. It's because they have experience. It's Metzias. So, even Chochmas Chaim, practically, the first Hishtadlus is, let's have Yeshiva Das. Let's sleep it. Sometimes you can sleep it over, sometimes not. But let's not panic. Now, is that not the same first Hishtadlus? You think the first Yisrael Hishtadlus when it comes to Chinuch? Question. The child did a very big avla. It hurts to the core. Sometimes it can get the person to lose their marbles more than a refuah de gezach. It's very, very tough. We're not chas v'shalom mezalzel. But when we're not in that nisoyan, let's speak about it. So I shouldn't do anything? Of course you should do. I should do. So that's what I did. So why did you tell me I didn't do it right? Because this was the Tois. The Tois was you didn't have Yeshiva Das. So you didn't connect Machshava with Maaseh. You didn't connect Machshava with Maaseh. Look what you did. Look at the mess. Huge mess. Even bigger than the mess. What was the given father? Because he wanted a fix. So if you go to a course, sometimes they could say it and not mention B'tachan and Amun and the Rebbeinu Shalom, just like the big mumche that comes there and says, I know you did it wrong. You did it on Chab. But the emes is that it's a avoid of Amun and B'tachan. It's the avoid not to react spontaneous. There's a better one. One of the impulsive. What is it? Impulsive. The pshat is we tend to do it like that in every area, but because it's a mitzvah, it doesn't mean and it doesn't change. And I owe to garnish this impulsiveness. Garnished. It doesn't change at all. And that's how tzaddikim live their lives, and we have to try to copy, because even if we only do it a little bit better, it's the world of a difference, because that little bit better is bringing Rebbeinu Shalom into the matziv. It's bringing emes, it's bringing or into the matziv, the difference of with Yeshiva Das and without Yeshiva Das. So that's why I'm just finishing over. We mentioned earlier the Avedas and such Sachen. It's just to give you perspective. The Aveda is to give you perspective. Okay, it has to do with the Chisaron. Maybe she wants me now to come closer to him, not to fall into a ditch of guilty conscience and nothing. That's Aveda. That's in itself is Aveda, and that's Atas Hayetze. It's to give perspective, and the erste yesod of tshuva is maybe she's helping me now. The situation now here is something for my good, and I'm being mekabel. It's the erste yesod of tshuva. Then, when a person feels that they're strong enough, then they could open their minds with tefillah. Help me. If I need to fix this, and sometimes a person finds a line in a sefer, a person hears something that's important for them to hear, but that's only going to happen after a person is shalem with the matziv, akaponim lefi darga. Then the Yeshiva Das, the Zashoras Hashchina, then there's many different types of Siyat Shmais that they have. Okay.